It always hit hardest at night, when the world slowed down, when the lights dimmed, and when everyone else found peace under the quiet of darkness. I would fall apart. The clock read 2:14 a.m. My chest was tight like someone had tied ropes around it and kept pulling. My breaths were shallow, uneven, like my lungs forgot how to work. I sat on the edge of the bed, my back hunched forward, trying to stay quiet so I wouldn't wake anyone. The silence was deafening. The shadows in the room twisted into shapes I didn't trust. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone, not to call anyone, but to check my pulse. Again. I pressed 2 fingers against my neck, fast, way too fast. Was this it? Was I having a heart attack? Was I about to die in the dark while everyone slept soundly down the hall? I stood up, dizzy, cold sweat gathering under my arms and along my spine. I paced quietly, then froze by the door, hand hovering. Over the handle. Should I wake someone? Should I go to the ER? But what would I even say? The walls felt closer. My vision narrowed. The hallway outside the bedroom looked endless and unsafe. My brain screamed, "Something is very wrong," but still I stayed silent. Instead, I tiptoed to the bathroom, locked the door, and curled up on the cold tiles, trying to ground myself. Deep breaths. Ice-cold water on my face, staring at the ceiling, like it held some answer. It didn't. I bit my lips so hard it almost bled, just to keep from screaming. I counted every heartbeat. I looked for every sign of something fatal, chest pain, tingling arms, faintness. But nothing ever actually happened, and somehow that was even scarier. 10 minutes passed, or maybe 40. Eventually the worst of it. Pulled back like a cruel tide, but left everything inside me wrecked. I made it through the night, but I didn't feel safe anymore. Not in my house, not in my body, not even in my own mind. I never told anyone. I laughed at breakfast the next morning, said I didn't sleep well, blamed the coffee, but inside I was terrified it would happen again, and it did, over and over. Every night became a question mark, and for the longest time I believed I was dying alone in the dark. But I wasn't. It wasn't a heart attack, it was anxiety. Before the sleepless nights, before the panic took root in the quiet hours, I was the kind of person people described as solid, reliable, calm. I kept everything together. I had a steady job at a design firm, a small but cozy apartment, and a group of friends I could count on. I wasn't the loudest in the room, but I always showed up. If you needed help moving, I was there. If you were going through something, I'd listen for hours. I was the one others leaned on. My days followed a neat rhythm. Wake up at 6, coffee, gym, work, home, Netflix, sleep. Repeat. I liked that structure. It made me feel safe, like I had life figured out. There were signs, I suppose, small ones. I remember clenching my jaw a lot. I'd wake up, and my teeth would hurt from grinding all night. I thought maybe I just needed a better pillow. I started snapping at small things. Bad drivers, long lines, missed calls. It wasn't like me, but I laughed it off. Everyone gets irritable, right? Sleep got harder. I'd lie in bed tired but wide awake. My mind played reruns of the day, overanalyzing every word I said, every look I got. I told myself it was just a phase, maybe too much caffeine, maybe too much screen time. The quiet started bothering me. Not just silence, but stillness. I'd blast music in the background or leave the TV on, just so I wouldn't have to sit with my own thoughts. I didn't realize then that I was trying to outrun something invisible, something growing. Social events became harder too. I'd say yes, but dread them all week. At the last minute, I'd come up with excuses. Too tired, not feeling well. I convinced myself I was just introverted, just recharging. But deep down, I knew something was shifting. I remember one moment, maybe the first real warning sign. I was in a meeting at work, nothing intense, just a weekly check-in. But suddenly, I felt like I couldn't breathe. My throat tightened. I thought I might faint. I excused myself, went to the bathroom, splashed water on my face. I told myself it was dehydration, or maybe low blood sugar. I didn't know then that I had just experienced a mini panic attack. It wouldn't be the last, but I kept moving, kept performing, kept smiling because to the outside world everything looked fine and I didn't want to be the person who couldn't handle it. That fear, that shame, kept me silent, and it only made the unraveling worse. It started quietly, not with a loud crash or a sudden breakdown, just a quiet tension under my skin, like something was about to go wrong, even when everything was fine. At first I blamed it on stress. Work had picked up, deadlines were tight. I was skipping meals, staying up late, telling myself this was just what adulthood looked like. But then came the physical symptoms. My heart would race out of nowhere. I'd be sitting at my desk, typing emails, and suddenly feel like I had sprinted a mile. Sweaty palms, lightheaded. I Googled it. Maybe caffeine sensitivity, too much screen time, vitamin deficiency. The internet made me more anxious than reassured. I found myself falling into health anxiety loops, searching symptoms late at night, convinced something was seriously wrong. I'm fine, I kept telling people, even when I wasn't sleeping, even when I couldn't eat, even when I started, crying on my lunch breaks for no reason. There were days I didn't recognize myself. I started turning down invitations, stopped answering calls, avoided eye contact even in grocery stores. But to everyone else, I looked okay. I laughed in meetings. I sent smiley emojis. I posted photos from quiet weekends. No one saw the journal I kept hidden in my nightstand, pages filled with fears I couldn't say out loud. What if this is forever? What if I'm broken? Don't show weakness. That voice in my head never shut up. So I wore the mask tighter. At work, I doubled down, stayed late, volunteered for extra projects. I thought if I stayed productive, maybe I could outrun it. I even started lying about my sleep. Yeah, I got a good 7 hours. I'd say when I hadn't slept a full night in weeks, the tension never left. Even good moments, like dinner with friends or a peaceful drive, felt like they were happening through a pane of glass. I was there, but not fully present, always scanning for the next wave. Eventually, I began to fear the night, because that's when everything got louder. The silence, the racing thoughts, the chest pressure. I'd lie in the dark, eyes wide open, replaying every awkward moment, every mistake, every what if. What if I lose my job? What if this gets worse? What if I die in my sleep and no one finds me? I didn't tell anyone. I was too ashamed, too scared they'd say, it's all in your head. So I kept hiding, smiling, working, functioning. On the outside, I was still me, but inside, I was unraveling, thread by invisible thread, and no one knew. It was a Sunday afternoon, bright, ordinary, unthreatening. I had just finished grocery shopping, pushing the cart through the automatic doors, when my chest tightened, not slowly, instantly, like a rope had been yanked around my lungs, my vision blurred. Everything went white around the edges, like the world was closing in. I stopped walking, couldn't move, couldn't speak. A sound, low and rising, filled my ears. My heartbeat, so loud it drowned out everything else. People walked past me, some even bumped my shoulder. I must have looked like I was staring into nothing, but inside, it was chaos. You're dying. That was the first thought. This must be a heart attack, stroke, brain aneurysm, something fatal. My hands trembled. I dropped my phone. I bent over, clutching my knees, gasping. But the air wouldn't come. My body refused it, and yet no one stopped. No one asked. No one noticed. I made it to the curb, collapsed onto the sidewalk, knees on the cold cement. I remember looking up at the sky and thinking, this is it. That's when the nausea hit. My stomach turned, my legs went numb, my mouth was dry, but I was sweating through my clothes. I wanted to call someone, but I didn't know who or what to say. Hey, I think I'm dying in a parking lot? No, I just sat there, 10 minutes passed, maybe 15, and slowly it faded. The tightness eased, the shaking stopped. My breath returned, but shallow. I was still alive. But I didn't feel alive. I felt cracked. When I got home, I said nothing. Not to my roommate. Not to my parents. Not to anyone. I took a long shower and stared at myself in the mirror, trying to understand what had just happened. And then I Googled it. Again. Sudden shortness of breath, chest pain, dizziness, nausea, panic, feeling like dying. That's when I saw it. Panic attack. I read it over and over. The symptoms matched exactly, but I couldn't accept it. I wasn't weak. I wasn't dramatic. So I told myself it was dehydration, or maybe low blood sugar, or too much caffeine. Anything. But anxiety. The worst part? The fear didn't leave after the attack ended. It planted itself deep in my mind. What if it happens again? And that fear. It followed me everywhere. Every heartbeat felt like a warning. After that first collapse, I didn't go back to normal. I couldn't. I began organizing my entire life around one silent goal. Don't let it happen again. I stopped taking the bus, stopped going to busy cafes, stopped agreeing to dinner plans unless I knew exactly where we'd sit, what we'd eat, how long we'd stay. I became a professional at hiding, smiling in meetings, nodding at parties, but inside scanning every room for an escape route. Google became my therapist. Every night I'd lie in bed scrolling, searching. How to tell if you're having a heart attack versus anxiety. What causes sudden dizziness? Can you faint from a panic attack? I'd check my pulse 10 times an hour, drink water constantly, carry peppermints in case of nausea. Some nights I'd fall asleep with headphones playing calming YouTube meditations, only to wake up at 2 a.m., drenched in sweat, heart racing, convinced I wouldn't make it to morning. Shame became my shadow. People started noticing I was acting different. I was tired all the time. I'd cancel plans last minute, missed deadlines, avoided calls, but I never told the truth, because what would I even say? I'm not okay, but I don't know how to explain it. I feel like I'm going to die, but doctors say I'm fine. Even when I tried opening up, I was met with, "You're just stressed. Try to relax. You worry too much." So I stopped trying. I disappeared without leaving. I was still there, showing up to work, responding to texts, smiling when needed. But emotionally, I had gone numb. The fear wasn't just of panic attacks, it was of being seen. What if someone noticed the trembling in my hands? What if I froze in public again? What if I started crying and couldn't stop? So I built walls, quiet, invisible ones, and I lived behind them. Emotional close. This wasn't life. It was survival. Every day was a careful performance. Every night, a private war, and the worst part, most people still thought I was fine. Because high-functioning anxiety doesn't always look like anxiety. It looks like showing up early, over-preparing, helping others, smiling, but inside, it's panic, doubt, exhaustion, terror. I wasn't living, I was enduring. I didn't plan to ask for help. I planned to disappear quietly. One night, everything blurred. I was standing in the kitchen, staring at the same cereal box for what felt like 10 minutes. I wasn't tired, I wasn't hungry, I just didn't know what to do. The silence around me was loud. The hum of the fridge, the distant car passing, my own breath. That's when I realized I couldn't keep living like this. I sent one. Message, just one. It wasn't dramatic, just a quiet text to a friend. "Do you know a good therapist?" She replied instantly, said she'd been to one herself, said it helped. That small reply felt like a door cracking open. The first session wasn't magic, but it was real. I was nervous, shaking, convinced I'd be judged. But the therapist didn't even flinch. She nodded, listened, let the silence stretch when it needed to. Then she said something that hit me like a soft punch to the chest. You've been running on survival mode, and that's not your fault. That line stayed with me. For the first time, I didn't feel broken. I felt human, a name for the beast. She called it generalized anxiety disorder, explained what panic attacks were, why they happened. She drew diagrams, gave metaphors. It's like your alarm system is too sensitive. It keeps going off even when there's no fire. That made sense. Finally, something made sense. The smallest steps felt like mountains. Booking the next session, opening up to my sibling, taking a walk without checking my pulse. Each one was terrifying. Each one was progress. Help didn't fix me, but it gave me a flashlight in the dark. Therapy didn't make the anxiety disappear overnight, but it gave me tools, words, context, and most of all, it gave me permission. Permission to rest, to say, I'm not okay. To stop pretending. The turning point wasn't one dramatic breakthrough. It was dozens of tiny moments that added up, and each one whispered, you're not weak, you're healing. Progress felt amazing, until it didn't. After a few weeks of therapy, I started breathing easier. I could go to the store without blotting every exit. I laughed, genuinely. For the first time in months, I thought, maybe I'm getting better. But healing doesn't care about timelines. Then came the relapse. Out of nowhere, I woke up at 3 a.m., heart pounding, drenched in sweat, gasping for air, my chest tightened. I thought I was back to square one. All the thoughts came flooding in. What if I'm broken forever? What if this is who I really am? But this time I had tools. I didn't spiral the same way. I remembered what my therapist said. This is your brain's false alarm. Let it ring, but don't run. So I stayed. I let the panic pass. It was awful, but it didn't control me. Healing isn't linear. It's a dance. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Some days I journaled, meditated, did deep breathing. Other days I just survived, and that was enough. The toolkit grew slowly. CBT helped me track thought patterns. Grounding exercises became my anchor. I tried medication, journaling, cutting caffeine, walking in the evening, saying no to things that drained me. Some things worked, some didn't. That was okay. I relearned how to live. I started showing up to life, not just enduring it. Work, friends, family, everything looked the same on the outside. But inside I was different. I didn't pretend anymore. I set boundaries. I even told a co-worker once, I have anxiety. I'm working on it. And instead of judgment, she nodded. She understood. There's no finish line, only better days. I still get anxious, sometimes in the middle of the night, sometimes in broad daylight, but I'm no longer afraid of the fear, and that shift changed everything. If I could speak to my younger self, I'd tell her she's not crazy. She's not weak, and she's not alone. I'd hold her hand and whisper, you're just overwhelmed. Your brain's trying to protect you, but you're safe now. Anxiety didn't ruin me. It revealed me. Before all this, I thought strength meant staying silent, smiling through pain, keeping up appearances. But anxiety cracked me open, and in that breaking, I met my real self for the first time. Not the perfectionist, not the people-pleaser, just me. I learned to live with anxiety, not fight it. It's still here sometimes. It visits on quiet nights or when life gets loud. But now, I greet it like a familiar shadow. I breathe. I ground myself. I remind my body, you've been here before. You made it through. I stopped measuring healing by how normal I looked. Healing looked like saying no without guilt, like canceling plans when my body whispered, not tonight, like taking slow walks with headphones and no destination. And honestly, that version of me, the one who listens, is the strongest I've ever been. Most people will never know the war I fought in silence. They saw a calm face, a quiet smile, a functioning adult, but inside I fought every day just to stay present, and I'm proud of that. Even if no one claps for it, there is life after anxiety. It doesn't mean the fear vanishes forever. It means the fear stops ruling your every move. I've built a life I love, not perfect, but peaceful, not fear-free, but full of grace. And if I can do that, so can you. If you're watching this and seeing yourself in my story, I want you to know something deeply, truly, and without a shadow of a doubt. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not too sensitive. You are carrying more than most people realize and still showing up. That's strength. You don't have to suffer in silence. I know nights feel the heaviest when the world gets quiet and the thoughts get loud. When your chest tightens and you lie awake wondering if this is forever. But it's not. You are not trapped. You are not alone. And most importantly, you are not beyond help. There is help. There is healing. And yes, there is hope. Whether it's therapy, medication, meditation, or just finally telling someone the truth about how you feel, your story can shift. It starts by speaking it. So speak. Cry if you need to. Reach out. Write it down. Or share your story in the comments. This is a safe space, and if you found comfort here, please consider subscribing. Not for numbers, not for clicks, but because you deserve to feel seen. And we're building a place for that, together. You made it through another night. You're doing better than you think. You matter, and you are loved. And if you want more stories like this, from real people with real struggles, subscribe. To Anxiety Patient Stories, we're building a quiet, honest space here for all of us who carry invisible battles. Thank you for watching. And remember, you are not alone. Not tonight, not ever.